Hello, this is Ryan from Music Mastery, and in this first of a series of videos on fundamentals of the tenor saxophone, I'll be explaining the basic assembly of the instrument, playing position, and posture to be sitting in while you're playing. Alright, in the first segment of this video, we'll be talking about the basic assembly of the instrument. First, I'll explain the different steps that we go through when assembling the instrument, and then I'll demonstrate while also walking through the various steps. First thing we're going to want to do is find the neck strap in our case. Within the case, there should be a strip of fabric, perhaps something with some foam padding or leather padding on it. Basically a large loop that comes to a point with a hook. There'll also be a little buckle that you can use to adjust. You want to take that out and put it on your neck first. This is what my neck strap looks like. I have a segment for my arm to go through as well. Normally this little back section won't be here and you'll just have the loop. Once you put it on, you can adjust the height of it a little bit. I'll only adjust a little because this doesn't need to be super high up. The tenor is already a fairly long instrument, so you're going to want to keep the adjustment down a little bit. The next thing we're going to want to do is look for a reed. If this is your first time opening the case, your reed might be in a box and then wrapped individually in foil or in a plastic sleeve. You'll have to take the reed out of all of that before getting to this step. I have mine already in a reed case opened up, so I'm going to take one out. And what we're going to want to do with this reed is go ahead and wet it. So you can either use a small cup of water. Generally though, people will use their mouth. We'll just pop the reed right in like this. It'll make you very difficult to understand to all of your friends for just a few seconds, but we'll want to pop the reed in while we're going through the rest of this process. I won't be doing that right now, simply because I need to talk through the rest of it. The next thing we're going to want to do is look for the mouthpiece. So that's going to be a black, normally hard rubber piece of, sometimes it'll look like plastic, but normally they are made of hard rubber. You'll find this normally attached to a ligature that'll be wrapped around it, and if you're lucky, you'll even have a little cap that goes over and protects the beak of the mouthpiece, like this. You'll have to take the cap off, and then the next thing you're going to want to do is actually take the ligature off. If you have a ligature made out of metal or another like fragile material, you're going to want to take it off. If you have it made out of leather, this step isn't as important, but I think it's good to get in the habit of doing so anyway. Next thing we're going to want to do is find the neck. That's normally going to be down on the left-hand side of your case in a little thin pocket. It's going to look like this. This end right here is what connects to the saxophone, and this end up here is where we put the mouthpiece. We're going to take the mouthpiece, and you're going to want to find the flat side of it with the hole up here. You're going to want to turn that side towards you. You're going to want to hold the neck in such a way that you're securing this octave arm from moving or from experiencing any undue pressure. You're going to turn the cork side towards you so that the tenon down here is at the bottom, and you're going to gently twist onto the cork your mouthpiece. Twist about halfway, perhaps 2/3 of the way onto the cork. You're going to want to make sure that the flat side of your mouthpiece is on the bottom when you're holding the neck in such a way that the tenon that connects to the saxophone is also on the bottom. That'll tell you that your mouthpiece is placed on the neck correctly. The next thing that we're going to do is grab our ligature back, and we're going to put it on the mouthpiece. And in doing so, we're going to make sure that as the flat side, the table of the mouthpiece, is facing us, the screw of our ligature, the screw head, is on the right-hand side. If your friend has a slightly different ligature than you, and their screw is on the back, but your screws are on the front, but the screw heads are all on the right-hand side, those are both equally valid ways of constructing a ligature. It's all up to the manufacturer. Generally though, the practice is to put the screw head on your right-hand side. You'll find some ligatures out there that will have the screws in the center. Very, very rarely, if ever, will you find a ligature with the screws on the left. Most all of them that I know of will have the screw either in the middle or over on the right. Next, we're going to want to grab our reed, and we're going to want to take the flat side of the reed. Normally this will be the side with branding on it. And we're going to want to line that up with the flat side of our mouthpiece and slide that down into the ligature using our thumb and being careful to stay away from the tip of the reed up here. We don't want to cause any undue damage and risk breaking a reed. They're very expensive. We want to make them last as long as we can. We're going to slide the reed down until it's just about in line. The tip of the reed up here is just about in line with the tip of the mouthpiece. And then we're going to push it down just a sliver further than that, so that there's only the tiniest little strip of black showing at the top of the mouthpiece. That's going to give us, generally speaking, the best response. There is a slight window that you can move the reed around in. That'll give you the best response. We're going to take this part of the saxophone, the neck assembly, and we're going to attach it to this part, the body. It's going to be easiest to pick the body up by grabbing into the bell and lifting straight up out of the case. And we're going to want to come up here and make sure to take out the tenon cap at the top. I'm going to throw that in your case. And we're going to take the neck, and we're going to line this little arrow brace in here up with this arm at the top of the tenor. Most braces will either be a sort of flat piece of metal that sticks onto the bottom of the neck that come to a point, or they'll just be a little wedge of metal that's been soldered onto the bottom of the neck, also coming to a nice easy point to follow. You want to line that point up with the octave arm and then take this screw here and twist it just to the point where you feel resistance. You don't want to over tighten it. That will lead to the screw stripping over time, and you definitely don't want to under tighten it because you'll leak air up here. Make sure when you put the neck in that your screw is not already tightened. Doing so can lead to this socket wearing out over time, causing air leaks, and a trip to the repair person that will end up being quite costly. Next thing, the last thing that we're going to want to do is find this ring here on the back of the tenor saxophone. And we're going to want to take the hook on our neck strap and put it right through that ring. Now, as we sit with the tenor sax, we're going to want to adjust our neck strap so that the mouthpiece comes to us. We don't want to have to bend down and hunch or reach up for the mouthpiece. We want it to come directly to our mouth. So this, I think, is a pretty good height for me for the tenor sax. Now, you'll notice when I go to playing position, I put the saxophone over on my right-hand side, and I look for these three pearls right here. This is my left hand. I'll put 1, 2, 3. And then in my right hand, I'll look for another 3 pearls, and I'll go 1, 2, 3. My pinky will sit on this pinky table. This pinky will sit on this pinky table. My thumb will sit right here on the thumb rest. My other thumb will sit down here below the thumb hook. I'll bring the saxophone to my face, and I'll adjust the mouthpiece in such a way that I don't have to bend my neck or my head in an awkward angle to get to it. That looks pretty good to me, so I feel pretty good and set up and ready to move on to the next video in the Fundamental series, where I'll be going over basic tone production, breathing, and embouchure. Thank you very much for watching. Please encourage ensemble members of yours to join Music Mastery, not only so that they can have their parts mastered for every rehearsal, but so that they know the fundamentals of music and playing their instruments.